community newspapers Monday at 11 a.m. And I'm your host, Cristina. I'm here today with Shari Kaplan. And you know, when you meet somebody and you have a conversation with them and you're like blown away by a conversation that you have with them, that is exactly the feeling I had when I met you, when I talked to you on the phone. So I'm so excited to have her here with us today. A few weeks ago, we had Dr. Michelle Weiner with us, and Shari works with Dr. Michelle Weiner in the cannabis world. And I will let you talk about your background and your story.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Well, I think the story you're talking about is how I got into the cannabis space.
Yes.
And some people already know this story, that my son was born with a central nervous system disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctors told me that he had severe autism. And I had worked with autism both in New York City and down in Florida. And I said, that's not what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And after we had further testing, it turned out that he had brain damage in his frontal lobe. He had something pushing down on his hippocampus. He had a movement disorder and a seizure disorder. And he was a hand flapping, circle spinning, nonverbal 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So I started studying neuroscience and neuroanatomy at worked in the field for quite a number of years when he was born. And I've been an integrative mental health clinician for over 25 years.
Mm.
And I just knew that I could figure out how to rewire his brain and body if I knew enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned what parts of the body correlate to what parts of the brain. I learned that our body's circuited on sound frequencies, and that's a whole other area of research, is the sound frequencies of different nerves, different organs, and how to strengthen them so that the body can get a stronger signal. And then I discovered that plants work on sound frequencies. And so I started researching plants from around the world, and lucky enough that scientists very rarely get phone calls, let alone from a mother who's trying to help their son get better. So I would call the University of Dubai and I'd say, okay, I know you're using this for Parkinson's, but I have a 4-year-old and I need to know what the appropriate dosing would be. And then I started.
And they answer you?
They did. They were shocked, but
Mm-hmm.
they did. I found that a lot of scientists would call me back saying, how did you find me?
Yeah.
But people were very gracious. And I started talking to other naturopaths
Mm-hmm.
and acupuncture physicians. It was actually my very dear friend, Linda Lesperance,
Mm-hmm.
who's an acupuncture physician up in Boca, who introduced me to plants.
Mm-hmm.
And she's an amazing acupuncture physician, just have to say that.
Mm.
And she actually helped treat my son as well. And so I pulled together these formulations and I created these exercises, and I was able to get occupational therapists and physical therapists and speech therapists who would work along with me. And today, my son is at Florida Atlantic University. He is a BMX bike rider. He has not one accommodation in school. He works for a bike shop in town. And if you ever meet him, you will know that not only is he a really amazing 18-year-old young gentleman, but he's quite an incredible young gentleman. And I don't say that because he's my son. He's
Mm-hmm.
just a really good human being.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got to, and I got to cannabis in 2013 because I met a physician out in Santa Monica, California, and I just offered to pay for his time so I could learn about cannabis. And after 3 hours of being on the phone, he said to me, listen, why don't you come out here and work with me in my clinic and I'll teach you what I know about cannabis. So I learned about dosing it. I learned about growing it, how they manufacture it. And then I thought, wow, if we could just put the botanicals with the cannabis, then we could really have a very special medicine that could support the body in functioning at its optimal level. So everything that I have learned and everything that I know is that our bodies are self-correcting and self-healing. And I know all the physicians out there know that too, because they are taught that from medical school. But yet when we go into treatment, and I'm talking about chronic treatment, because I think emergent treatment needs emergent care. I think your antibiotics, I think the medicines, the surgeries are absolutely necessary when you're talking about emergency care. But when we go into talking about chronic care, or being able to help the body process or strengthen from autoimmune disorders, we have to look at, how does our body really function? Where does it start? And our body does know how to self-correct and self-heal, but it needs support in doing that. And I think that's where cannabis and plant medicine play a really significant role.
A few things that you're saying are, one, we are our own best advocate. And you had that voice inside of you that told you, no, it's not autism, it's something else. And that you kept in that journey. All of us have our own journey to go through in our life. But the purpose of this is really to bring awareness that there are other methods of healing sometimes. It's not just taking the red pill to make you feel better. And there are ways to be healthy in a more holistic and plant-based way. It works. Hearing your story and knowing, like, you're a person, like, this is my story. I hope it opens your mind and demystifies, I guess, or what's the right word I want to say, like the negativity around cannabis or CBD. It is such a new thing. It's been around a while, but more and more is being learned about it and how its medicinal properties.
You know, and I think that what you're saying is 100% correct. And I think because I never played in the arena of recreational use. To me, it became a new plant. Like my home is probably a very unique place because of the way that I approach substances in my home, because they've never been abused in my personal life or used in my personal life until I started creating plant formulations that could help. And I had a very significant integrative mental health practice. I treated a lot of physicians, and I also had friends who were physicians. So as I was making these formulas, they would say to me, hey, do you have anything for GERD? Do you have anything for gout? My shoulder hurts. Do you have anything for that? And so I'd be like, give me a few days, let me go research and I'll create something. And now I have over 200 formulations that can be used either by themselves or compounded with cannabis, or be used in vape pens for that matter. Or Dr. Michelle Weiner introduced me to a scientist in Miami, and we took several of our botanical formulations and made them into nanoemulsions, which you can put in water, or you can actually make them into edibles. And so this actually gives an entourage effect to whatever cannabis product that you're using. And the botanicals by themselves actually work without any cannabis. So when you add them to cannabis, you really are getting what I consider chicken soup, right? So cannabis is the chicken. You need purified water to make that into chicken soup. So to me, how it's grown, where it's grown, how it's manufactured matters. But chicken broth is amazing, right? You're going to heal gut microbiome with chicken broth. You'll produce more collagen with chicken broth. But if what you want is chicken soup and you want the medicinal properties of chicken soup, you have to add salt, pepper, onions, herbs, carrots, celery, and then you have amazing chicken soup. And that's why I believe that cannabis medicine and the future of cannabis medicine, right now we're at this plateau where everyone talks about terpenes, and terpenes are the smells that you have in plants. All plants have terpenes that have a smell, right? And those terpenes have medicinal properties. But there are so many other compounds in plants, like flavonoids, polyphenols, the terpenes. And these compounds all have medicinal properties to them. They're antiviral, they're antibacterial, they're antitumoral. They're anticonvulsants. It's not just the cannabis. So when you can match different plants with the cannabis, you could support the cannabis in doing its function even more efficiently and effectively. And so that's what, we do at our center for our patients, is that we for certain patients where the cannabis is not enough, we can enhance their medicine, but we also do it for other companies as well.
That's exciting. It's exciting to hear how we all want to contribute in this world, and what you're doing is making the world a better place in a holistic way, in a clean way.
Well, also, we are not believers, Dr. Weiner and myself, that, cannabis or plant medicine is a one-trick pony, right? Your lifestyle, your connection to others, all play a significant role. So when our patients come to us, we not only educate them on medical cannabis, but we have a whole life plan that I've been working with in my practice for many years. And it includes meditation and mindfulness. It includes how do you take care of yourself? Because emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, that plays into your health. And I think we need to get away from your mental health or your health. They're one and the same. And we know this from the research that's out there on trauma work. Your default network, the mode in your brain and your pain centers are both affected when you have trauma or traumatic stress. And we have people coming in with chronic pain. And when I say, when did the pain start? And then they tell me, oh, it started a year ago. And I'll say, was anything going on in your life about a year ago? Like, well, my mom was dying of cancer. And when you start working on, well, what are the ways that you have grieved, and how have you continued your relationship with your mom in a loving way, whether it is, I write notes to her in my journal, or I go down to the ocean with a rose and I talk to her about what was going on in my month or my week. And you have rituals that honor her, as opposed to holding on to the pain of the loss of her in your body, which then creates more stress hormones, which then creates more of a strain on your body and the pain center of your brain. So I think that cannabis and plant medicine is so instrumental in supporting us in cultivating our health. And I also think that cultivating your health is what we need more of, as opposed to, well, you're sick, let's fix it now. We need to be thinking about, how do I support myself as I go through this experience? What nutrients do I need? What foods do I need? Have I depleted myself so much that I need to replace my cannabinoids with some CBD and THC? And who's the expert that I can go to talk about that? I think all of those things are very important. Is your exercise routine good for your body? Some people should not be running, and yet they'll go to a trainer and they'll say, well, we're going to run for this amount of period of time. And it's like, your body might need yoga. Your body might need Qigong instead of yoga. So I think that there's so many wonderful people in our community in all of these areas. And I feel like we do a great job introducing people to these areas of health and wellness. And we've been bringing on some really amazing people on board to help us help our patients. One of them being Dr. Janester Wilson-King has joined our team to work with patients on hormones and functional medicine. So we're really excited. She just started telemedicine this past month, but she'll be down in our neck of the woods from Orlando to work with us. So we're really excited to have her on board as well.
Wow. One of the things that we were talking about was all these clinics that are popping up, and people can go get therapy at all these, there's a way to do medicine just to make money at it. And then there's a way to be with people that really want to assist in the therapy and use the cannabis to support that. And this is where I feel like you make such a big difference, because as you were explaining, you get into exploring the person's history and what is the plan forward.
Because depending on where pain is coming from, you actually use different plants as well. So just because you have the same symptom, like we're not sleeping at night, but why aren't you sleeping at night? Are you not sleeping at night because you're on high doses of prednisone? Or are you not sleeping at night because your kid's away at college and you haven't learned how to cope with that? Or are you not sleeping because your job is so stressful and you're in fight or flight all day long, and we need to take that down a notch throughout the day, which might be the use of some botanicals or a little CBD with a smidgen of THC in it. So there's so many different reasons why you're not sleeping at night, that to just go, all right, well, you're not sleeping, just take this cannabis formula and let's call it a day. Like there's so much more that we could be helping patients with, including some of the life skills on how do you manage either a chronic situation of stress, and or how do you manage a situation when you are in crisis. When we get a lot of patients who are coming to us from Lynn Cancer Institute and Marcus Neuroscience who have cancer, and they come to us for palliative care, and they leave with a lot more than that.
I know.
And I always say we might not be able to cure people, but I do know that we are certainly a part of their healing process, and we improve the quality of everyone's life who walks in our door. And I'm very proud of my clinicians and the work that we're doing because of that.
So one of the things that I heard you talk about was how some of these plants, and let's just break something down too. When you're talking about botanicals, in case someone's watching and doesn't know, what does botanicals mean?
So botany is the study of plants. So we're talking about all plants from ashwagandha to like obviously right now mushrooms are very big in terms of lion's mane and reishi mushrooms and the healing properties of those. We certainly talk to our patients about using those types of plants. The types of plants that we might add might be like lavender has a very good anticonvulsant property to it. It also has a relaxing property to it. So it depends on what you're pairing that with.
So it's like all plants.
It's all plants. It could be oregano sometimes it's thyme, sometimes it's rosemary, but sometimes it's stuff that maybe you haven't heard of. Sometimes it's mustard seed. There's
all plants have some sort of a medicinal property to it.
Yes, but there are some that are, like I always say, the ones that we use in our formulas are FDA approved as safe for food consumption, that they're 100% organic. They go through a testing process to make sure that they are clean of heavy metals and that they are the right concentrations, so that our dosing is accurate. So really where you get them, who you get them from,
where they're grown, the soil it comes
all
from,
important.
It all matters. You were mentioning how some of the plants have antiviral. So in this day and age that we're living in currently, you brought up a statistic that was so interesting. How many of us know someone currently that has had COVID, has had it, dealt with it, maybe they died from it? I mean, I can name at least 5 that I know personally. How many patients do you have?
So we have over 800 patients in our practice right now. I think we're creeping up on 900. And we've had one reported case.
Yeah.
So we're talking about our medical cannabis practice. We've had one reported case. And
It's
I know there are people out there doing research on cannabis and COVID. And I don't know the exact findings of those cases. I know that they're finding that patients who have been taking cannabis medicine have a lower incident, but I'm not really sure what that research is. So I don't want to misspeak, but I can tell you just in our clinic,
it's just something interesting.
It's an interesting observation that we've made.
I mean, you're in the medical field, you're dealing already with people that have some might have a compromised immune system, are more susceptible, everything.
Right.
900 people and only one in that 900 because they're already being treated with these botanicals. And I find that really interesting. Again, it's just to bring awareness. And if you want to know more and think that you're suffering from, whether it be fibromyalgia, depression, what are some of the other ones?
For that, medical cannabis is legal for in the state of Florida and in most states, but not across the board. It's cancer, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, ALS, seizures, and migraines, and most neurological disorders, most mental health disorders, because they're comparable too. So they've come up with a way of allowing us to help more people by saying that there's research out there that can say that if you have chronic pain in your spine, that's comparable to, it aligns with the diagnoses that they permit. So I really think that I hope that I can be a voice in the mental health world and the addiction world, because I think we're missing the boat a little bit. There are cannabinoids that are known as CBDA and THCA, which is the raw form of cannabis, right? So they are non-intoxicating. The only way that cannabis becomes intoxicating is when you heat it up above a certain temperature. And so when people can take tinctures, I like tinctures because we can dose them and then we can really manage something more efficiently.
Tinctures, and I'm just asking because I've asked these questions myself, means the dropper.
Right, they're drops under the tongue. But when you can make a formula that has CBDA and THCA, and then we add some botanicals to that formula, we have been able to help people stay clean and sober for many years because it helps to modulate and regulate the system. So many people who have addiction are struggling with shame and guilt, and it dysregulates their system, more shame than anything, and vulnerability. And so when you get to regulate the body, you can then do the mental health work that's needed. But so many patients start working on themselves and the shame comes up and the body sensations are so unbearable and they start using. If you can use a non-intoxicating formulation that helps to regulate the system, and you do the therapy work or whatever work that you've chosen to get clean and stay clean, then you're not fighting your body anymore. And you can actually get the work done. And we've had some great success with that. Some people who are not having success in their treatment for depression, we have found that sometimes the CBD and the THC is hard for certain people to take. But when we give them CBDA and THCA with botanicals, they do extremely well. You still need your skills and tools, but again, you're not fighting your body. And that's a beautiful thing. And I'm really hoping that over these next 5 years that we can educate more mental health clinicians and psychiatrists, because I think some of the psychotropic medications are failing us.
One of my girlfriends, when I had Dr. Michelle Weiner here, I spoke to her afterwards about that I was having difficulty sleeping. And one of my best friends was having difficulty sleeping too. She's very stressed out at work. She was telling me how she was taking Ambien that wasn't helping her, and her doctor was going to get her to do some hormone therapy. I'm like, before you start messing with all your hormones and you're taking all of this, like, Ambien, which is a chemical that's going to, like, do you really think that that's helpful, supportive of your system? Why wouldn't you try something plant-based? I tried it. I've been doing the CBD tablets. I'm blown away at how it's helped me. And why I have loved the CBD is one, I feel good that I know that I'm taking something plant-based. My body already has something like
that produces
CBD naturally. I have it's not like it knocks me out and I can't sleep anymore.
Right.
It's just a very natural, relaxing thing. I wake up, I have zero grogginess, zero. And I don't know. I mean, like, I'm a believer.
And you know, everyone's body's different, right?
Everyone's
So
body's
your
different.
body might be depleted in CBD, but somebody else's body might be depleted in some of the other cannabinoids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great that that was your solution. I think we have people who come and say, my friend slept on this and I'm not sleeping on this. And the truth of the matter is our bodies are as diverse as the flowers and the plants that
Yeah.
we're working with.
We all have different things. There isn't just a one trick pony,
Yeah.
like what you were saying, for anything. But what I do want to do here today is just bring awareness. And I think what your work and Dr. Michelle Weiner's work is just incredible, because you're really not just take the red pill and you'll feel better. You're really working with a patient and wanting to work with them completely, asking so many more questions. It's a more holistic approach. And if we can be open-minded and learn about this, and if it can support you in a natural, holistic way, why wouldn't we want to learn more about this?
I agree. I agree. And I think that there's so many chronic conditions out there right now, autoimmune disorders, people who are living with chronic pain, blood pressure.
Inflammation.
You know, I hear people, they're like, no, don't touch my blood pressure medicine. And
I
it's
hear
like,
that
so
all the time.
you don't want to get off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that our society is so conditioned that you can't.
Yeah, they are.
It is the pill that's making you well, and very little sense of responsibility that you're a part of cultivating your health.
Mm-hmm.
One pill is not it. Although there are people and generations of people who believe that, you know, I have to take this medicine and that's that. And I said, you know what, then that's best for that person,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody wants to participate in cultivating their health. But for people who do, for people who want to raise children this way, we have a lot of great information and can really help a lot of people.
Yeah. Your company is called Cannectd.
Connected Wellness.
Connected Wellness.
And it was my play on words for dosing. So there's no E at the end. And we were part of the cannabis. And I think when I was coming up with a name, I was sitting with my friend Rachel Weintraub, who's an amazing producer, by the way. And she was like, we need it to be something like who you are. And I'm all about how everything is connected to everything. So how you connect to your relationships, how you connect to what your desires are. What do I want and what am I doing? How do I connect to cultivating my health? How do I connect to my community and other people? Because that is such a big part of our health. And I'm so happy to see that it's getting a big plug in the world right now, that our connections are one of the most significant parts of our health.
Our energy, we're all connected in some way. And it was just like, even when I spoke to you on the phone, I was like, I don't know. It was one of those moments where you're just like, I know that I want to stay in touch with you. I know that I want to, keep learning from you. I feel so lucky that I had, and Dr. Michelle Weiner too, that I met you guys, and what you're doing is just so cool and amazing, and very caring people. Like, you get that vibe immediately. You just want to make the world a better place and help people.
We have a really good therapeutic alliance. And like I said, I'm happy that Dr. Janester Wilson King is coming a part of that. And I really do think we are the medicine women of the village. And
I want to help spread that message.
And
if this is doing that, then I feel like I'm doing my part in this role. Besides addiction, I know that that's one of the things. I know you talked about multiple sclerosis,
Down syndrome, autism. These are all systems that when you think about autism, there's a disorder
Mm-hmm.
in what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that system is going to be dysregulated.
Mm-hmm.
So any kind of neurological disorder,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's seizures or Parkinson's or
Mm-hmm.
MS, there's a dysregulation going on. There's misfiring going on. And cannabis and other plant medicine is very instrumental and helpful in regulating that. And again, not a one-trick pony, not just CBD,
It's not going to be
just
the
THC. Sometimes it's a combination of CBD, THC, CBDA, THCA, CBG, and then extra plants. It just depends on so much of how unique each individual is. And I know that the industry wants to come up with a standard, and it's a standard of this, and we are all too unique as organisms to say it's this. We can say here's a starting point. We could say this is where you start and you go slow and you slowly go up. But you really need, I think, as time goes on, as more of the cannabis space understands that it's a plant medicine space, that we're going to get more practitioners like myself who pull these things together and realize, wow, if we could help people with the cannabis, we can help the people even better. Using many different forms of plant medicine. Right now, we're in an emerging area of psychedelics where we have John Hopkins and NYU. We're in the middle, Dr. Wiener and I are in the middle of a study with ketamine-assisted therapy with fibromyalgia, cannabis, and pain. I'm sorry, and treatment-resistant depression. And we are having great success helping people with that combination. But I also say, again, it's not therapy assisting ketamine. It's we're using the ketamine and the cannabis to assist the therapeutic process.
Again, supporting the patient completely.
Right.
It's heavy duty. It's more intense. It's really deep work. So what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Calling our center.
Yeah. What is the name of your center? Let's say
it's Cannectd Wellness in Boca Raton, Florida. But I work with Dr. Michelle Wiener, who works out of Hollywood and Miami as well. So you can either reach out to her, and we, like I said, we collaborate on everything. So
you're on social media.
we are
Shari Kaplan
at
Cannectd.
We're at Cannectd on Instagram and Facebook. Our phone number's there and available. You can reach out to us on Instagram.
Tommy's putting the info right there now.
Yes. Through our website as well.
Thank you so much. I hope you come back and visit us. I am just blown away of what y'all are doing. You guys are just doing good work in a very holistic way. It's making a difference in people's lives. Your story is amazing. Thank you for driving down here and being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. And I think you guys are doing great work getting different special people out to the world and what's happening in Miami.
Yes.
And that's so wonderful to see and to have somebody who cares as much as you do.
Thank you.
I think that's why we probably are kindred spirits. So thank you for having us.
It's all about shop local, buy local, supporting your local business here in South Florida. And if we can help you, please get in touch with us. We would love to help support your business as well. Until next Monday at 11 a.m., thanks for watching. And any questions, put them in the comments. We'll be following up with you guys. And we look forward to speaking with you again.